Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Today I want to talk about the very dark and somewhat disturbing history of Valentine's Day. I'm Abby from the Lunatics Radio Hour podcast, where we explore the history of horror. And when it comes to Valentine's Day, there's so many different legends and stories and things to discuss. So today is going to be sort of a tip of the iceberg discussion, just to whet your palate, just to give you a high level sense of kind of some of the different historical tracks that are out there when it comes to Valentine's Day. I want to start by talking about the pagan ritual and festival called Lupercalia. So Lupercalia was a pretty intense feast and festival that was meant as a purity and fertility celebration. As part of this, there was a few different things that happened. One, men would go out and sacrifice animals, mostly goats, sometimes dogs, it seems, and then they would take the skin of the animals and use it to beat naked women who were actually lined up in the street. They would hit them with these skins, and the point was they thought that that helped improve the fertility of the women. There was also this sort of matchmaking element to the ritual where men would pull a woman's name out of an urn or a jar, and they would be romantically coupled for the duration of the feast. Sometimes it seems longer, too, if they felt like they were a match. In the 5th century, Pope Gelasius actually declared February 14th to be Valentine's Day. Lupercalia had historically been celebrated mid-February, February 15th, so you can sort of start to see the through line there. Some believe that Pope Gelasius declared February 14th Valentine's Day as a way to make this pagan holiday more Christian, to make it official and kind of start to envelop into the new Christian way, if you will. This is something we see again and again when we look at holidays from this era, and you can actually trace back the pagan roots in festivals that kind of predated the Christian holidays. Now, you may be asking yourself, but when does St. Valentine come into the mix? And there's actually a few different St. Valentines. According to a History.com article I found, I believe there are 3 martyred St. Valentines, according to the Catholic Church. But there's a very romantic story about one that I want to focus on today. So the story goes that during the 3rd century AD, Emperor Claudius II was growing increasingly frustrated at his troops, at his armies, because the men were very distracted and distraught when they would have to leave their wives and their families back home. The emperor's great idea to keep his soldiers focused on battle was to ban marriage altogether. But there was actually a priest named Father Valentine who would marry people in secret despite the ban and had these clandestine wedding ceremonies that he hosted. And of course, when the emperor found out what was going on, unfortunately, he arrested Father Valentine and had him locked in jail until he awaited his execution date, which, as it were, was set for February 14th. But while Father Valentine was in jail, a few things happened. One was that some of the couples who he had married in secret actually visited him in jail because they were so thankful for his sacrifice. And they would bring him flowers and trinkets and treats. And so you can sort of see the through line there between modern day celebrations of Valentine's Day, where we exchange flowers and chocolates and trinkets, things like that. The other thing that happened while he was in jail is that, again, according to rumor, he fell in love with the daughter of his captor, the daughter of the jailer. And since he knew he was going to be put to death, he left her a letter that was signed, "From your Valentine," which, again, you can see the through line there to how we celebrate and give each other cards, Valentine's cards, right, today. The timing of this, when Father Valentine is put to death, is estimated to be around 270 AD. And again, while some legends out there associate his execution date, February 14th, with Valentine's Day, many historians believe that we celebrate Valentine's Day mid-February because of the origins of Lupercalia, as opposed to this execution of Father Valentine. I want to pivot slightly because I want to take a moment to talk about the icon of Valentine's Day, Cupid. You probably have a great sense of what Cupid looks like in your mind already. He is on so many greeting cards and Valentine's Day chocolate boxes. But Cupid actually dates back to Greek and Roman mythology, as everything really does. If you're not familiar, Cupid is a cherub, a winged baby in a diaper who carries around a bow and arrow and sometimes a torch and shoots people and causes them to fall in love. The ancient Greek version of Cupid is Eros. It's kind of interesting because even though he seems like a strange symbol of adult love and desire, you can kind of piece things together a little bit. The stories go, for example, that he has wings because lovers can be so fickle and flighty, and that he has a torch to symbolize how inflammatory love can be. He has a weapon to symbolize how harmful love can be. So you can kind of piece that together. There's also this idea that because he is a child, it kind of demonstrates how childlike people can behave while they're in love, and they can have sort of this childlike wonder about them when it comes to love. I didn't realize this before, but Cupid's arrows actually have two different types of power. So he has two different types of arrows. One is tipped with gold, which, as you might guess, can incite love and desire. And the other, which is like a flat lead arrow, which apparently like reverses everything and can make people fall out of love or run far away from the person that they previously desired. So it's kind of like an off switch. Again, this is really, really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the history of Valentine's Day, and there's so much more to discuss, so many other Saint Valentines to explore, but I really just wanted to give a high-level overview of some of the things that I found interesting about the history of this holiday, especially when it comes to pagan rituals and festivals, Greek mythology, Roman mythology. Things can get hardcore and rock and roll pretty quickly, which is what I always love to find. And so if you're interested in more history, especially the rock and roll hardcore type of history, check out our podcast, Lunatics Radio Hour, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We explore the history of horror and we talk about a lot of things that kind of have a similar historical significance. Follow us at the Lunatics Project anywhere on social media for more bite-sized pieces of horrific history. If you want to stick around for more history, feel free to like or subscribe to this channel because we will be back very soon with more haunted or dark or horrifying history. Thank you for watching and happy Valentine's Day, everybody.